Hi, I'm Joan Nihol, psychologist. Today it's my pleasure to share with you COVID-19 or ingeniously surviving a dystopian reality. Last summer I was speeding off to exchange the dishwasher my husband had bought for one that was more efficient. I happened to glance in my rearview mirror and to my horror I saw cop lights in them. I pulled over. I told the officer that I had a ticket. That tweaked his interest. "You already have a ticket?" he asked. "Oh, yes," I said, as I triumphantly brandished the work order for the dishwasher I was about to exchange. "And did you know you were speeding?" "Oh, yes," I said. I could hardly wait to get that offensive dishwasher out of my kitchen. After engaging in some pleasantry, he checked my registration and let me go. Have you ever felt fear? That constriction in the chest? The uncertainty about the present, let alone the future, that we're all facing today? That initial constriction is anxiety, and it's not a bad thing. It serves to protect us in the face of a perceived threat to our well-being. You feel it at times when you sanitize all the commonly used surfaces, when you shop for groceries and wonder which hands touch the tin or the freezer door that you are about to open, or wondering will the shelves be empty, and what about that grocery cart? Is it clean? These are some of the questions that can trigger anxiety for us today in our dystopian reality. There's a difference between knowing and understanding. Once you understand why you're washing your hands with soap for 20 seconds or a little bit more if you wish, because the fat surface of COVID-19 dissolves with soap but not with water, you comply. Anxiety is regulated as you get to an understanding of the facts. Now, unless you're 105 years old, I'm guessing like me, you've never had to experience a world war. In the past, people didn't have a long life expectancy. Our life expectancy is much longer today. 100 years ago, people expected life to be miserable, short, and brutish, to quote Thomas Hobbes. So it's a question of perspective. We didn't have easy access to the media globally. This leads to the spread of information and misinformation. Our cognitive biases lead us to agree with issues that fit within our mindset. We need at times to limit our media consumption. The content of the media fuels our anxiety. There are behaviors we can engage in, such as hand washing with soap, disinfecting surfaces, using social distance while maintaining eye contact and saying hi to the person that you're distancing from, isolation, self-quarantine. But you know what? We never know for sure. This is the time to fill the void with self-care, with routine, with identifying things you can do. Understanding creates compliance and reduces anxiety. If you understood the transmission of viruses was partly due to close proximity to others, you'd practice distancing and isolation without question. It'll be a choice, something you get to do for the benefit of our community, even on a global level. Normalize when you're experiencing anxiety on a physical level. Dilated pupils, tight chest, muscle tension, rapid breathing. Decatastrophize the symptoms. Shift your attention to other things. For example, the fun things you get to do today, like listening to music, reading, crafts, opera online. What do you choose to do today? Visualize yourself being resilient, being able to overcome it all. Memorize the details. What was your body looking like? Your posture, your facial expression. What was it like when you were being resilient? Being that ingenious survivor I talked about earlier. Imagine putting that photograph now into an album for safekeeping, so you can retrieve it whenever the need arises. Anxiety suppresses our immune system. Did you know that? And that's why it's important to reduce it. Think of it as a challenge. We are social beings. How can we get together without the comforting hug? How about a phone call? This is a chance to connect with others, to enjoy social support even as you give it to others. Ambiguity can be an incubator for anxiety. Be mindful of how you're feeling without judging your feelings. Just be aware of them. Create a routine. Unstructured time can lead to worry. Factor interruptions in your day, especially if you have young children at home now. Set a fixed time for exercise as you did prior to COVID-19, or if you didn't, now is an invaluable opportunity to develop this healthy habit. Structure becomes your skeleton, ensuring that you won't become jello or wobbly in the face of uncertainty. We're giving you a scaffold today. So a workday does not feel as though it's the weekend. How can we evolve into a global identity? After COVID-19, we will need to take a look at how efficient we've become at working with the internet, with teleconferencing, with reducing our carbon footprint, with reducing global warming, with reducing our consumer consumption, with adapting to healthcare in a more cost-efficient way with triaging, telemedicine, therapy via the internet. These are all valid ways to reframe our dystopian reality into a healthy transformation. Now, look at it. Some fear, some anxiety is appropriate to our situation. Anxiety fuels success. For example, the practice of not touching your face, preparing for isolation. Distancing. Anxiety, unlike most other mental disorders, using DSM-5 or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, is a late bloomer. Most other disorders, for example, bipolar affective disorder 1, bipolar affective disorder 2, psychopathy, schizophrenia, and on it goes, start in your teens to mid-20s. GAD, however, anxiety, phobias, can arrive later on in life. In fact, the mean or the average age for the arrival of GAD is 30 to 31. Generalized anxiety disorder is what I was talking about. Now, if we look at the average age is between 30 to 31. It can occur before, but usually it starts at that age. That's the average. And then it can continue into your 40s and into your 50s. Now, it makes sense that it would strike us in our 30s because that's when we stop becoming a student and we have to enter into adulthood. We have to start marching to the rhythm of a different drummer. We have to act as though we are independent, self-sufficient, self-reliant adults who are responsible. That's a lot. You've got to perform. In my practice, I have found that anxiety and depression often appear together. A rather neurotic marriage, I would say. With depression, you tend to ruminate. You think on and on about one specific point. You're stuck in an obsessive rut of thinking. We used to call it broken record. It's annoying and you can't let it go. With anxiety, the self-blaming component, did I make them upset, is always there. Check if your mood is getting in the way of your life, getting in the way of your family, of your relationships. My clients have insight into anxiety. I know I'm being irrational, but just don't know how to stop it, they say. They're stuck in their interpretation of events. So I ask them to generate, at the very least, one other possible explanation or interpretation of the events. Later on, they can create a couple more. This leads to emotional regulation. Now, phobias lead to avoidance. They can be specific. For example, fear of flying, of heights, of insects, animals. They can be social. We talk about social anxiety. Agoraphobia is a fear of public places, a fear of there being no exit, no way to get out, and no help easily available for us. So it means it's a fear and avoidance of public places, all public places just about. In fact, some of my clients are so agoraphobic that they can't even leave their home to go for a walk unless they're accompanied by a trusted individual, and even then there is panic. Which brings me to my next point. Agoraphobia and panic usually appear at the same time. Today, agoraphobics are easier to hide because of social distancing. They can navigate through the internet, online shopping. But there's a component of shame implicit to being agoraphobic. The agoraphobic client will say to me, I feel ashamed that I haven't left my house for a month, that I just don't know how to do it. If you're experiencing some of the above, you might choose to see a therapist. The therapist will help you to treat the problem. This isn't a label, by the way, but rather a roadmap to get you to the solution. That roadmap is crucial to help you to get to the solution. You don't have a stigma when you go to see the doctor. Well, the same should be true if you're going to see a therapist. The flu is treatable. So is depression, anxiety, agoraphobia, panic attacks, generalized anxiety disorder. And be aware that any pre-existing condition you had prior to COVID-19 could very well be exacerbated because of the uncertainty of our dystopian reality today. It's a matter of degree and how much it generalizes to affect your life and your relationships. In Canada and the United States, anxiety is on the rise. It is prevalent. Now, demographics could be a reason why. For example, people with more financial income tend to be more anxious than those who don't have that much. Being in control and competitive are part of the culture. People with fewer resources aren't as susceptible to anxiety. They've normalized and adjusted to the vagaries and vicissitudes of their life. So now where does that take us? Well, I'd like to invite you right now with me to think about what you get to do, what you choose to do. Use humor. Generate a list of difficult, untenable experiences you've had in your life so far. How did you survive? What worked? What didn't work? What do these traits say about you? Put some of these coping strategies into your toolbox. Embrace the new global identity. This new global identity that we're all developing in our unique one-off ways. We're not similar, we're unique, one-off. We might look different, express emotions differently. But beneath the skin, we all want the same reality: health, connection, transformation. Thank you for listening. Bye now.